Ladies and gentlemen, I'll read you the following headlines. Trump is a big winner, and Sessions a big loser. In Tuesday's primaries, that's Fox. New York Times. Jeff Sessions pays price for Trump's wrath, losing Alabama Senate race. Okay, so I'll just read you a little of this. So Jeff Sessions loses Alabama GOP Senate runoff to Trump-backed candidate. He did quite well, President Trump. His candidates won. Jeff Sessions loses Alabama GOP Senate runoff to Trump-backed Tommy Tuberville. Jeff Sessions lost an Alabama Senate GOP primary runoff on Tuesday to former Auburn University football coach Tommy Tuberville. CNN a major defeat to the former attorney general who faced fierce opposition to his candidacy from President Donald Trump. I'm not right about everything, but I'm right about most things. I've been right about most things the past 4 or 5 years. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I have been. I said Clinton would lose the election to President Trump. NPR quoted me below, and within that paragraph, 538, said Trump wouldn't be GOP nominee. I said Clinton would lose swing states. And that she was unelectable. By the way, I will make the biggest political call of all time. Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. It ain't going to be Biden. That's absurd. Share my Times of Israel article, Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. And share my Huffington Post article, written in 2017, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. I will have been about, 3-4 years ahead of everybody on this. 3 to 4 years. Please go ahead. If you want to be part of a newsletter, it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. I'm almost done with my revamped website, hagoodman.com. So, also, if you want to support my voice long-term, ladies and gentlemen, my Patreon is below. To my new Patreon members, thank you so very much. I have live streams in the evening, so check them out on this channel and subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. President Trump basically defeated Jeff Sessions, so I'll just read you this. This is interesting. There are two takeaways from the outcome of Tuesday's primaries in Alabama, Maine, and Texas. First, the big winner of the night was President Trump. Several Trump-backed candidates defeated their opponents and unquestionably benefited significantly from the president's support. He's going to win the election, people. Democrats have it's 2016 all over again. In addition to Clinton being nominee, she will lose again to President Trump. But the polls, the apoplectic, hysterical, fanatical media coverage, and the anti-Trump zeitgeist is completely fabricated. You have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where if you look, there are articles being written. Biden doesn't have support among black voters, and he doesn't have support among Hispanic and Latino voters. Not the support that Clinton had. Not the support that Clinton had. They're not rolling with a person who looks and communicates like an exhumed body. They're not rolling with a person. They're not going to choose a person on the centennial of the 19th Amendment who basically has the image or gives off the appearance of an exhumed body that got Botox and plastic surgery. Nobody cares about Biden. The only reason he won is because his name is not Bernie Sanders or Trump. That's the only reason. Democrats are like, they're in their own world. And I've been watching more and more coverage. Clinton was on The Daily Show. I was watching Daily Show segments. The typical anti-Trump interviews, and I've been reading. I don't have Twitter, so if you see somebody on Twitter impersonating me, please report that person to Twitter and take screenshots. They're committing a crime, numerous crimes. But anyway, President Trump won. He's going to win. He won a couple hours ago, but he's going to win the presidency really quickly. The trust the plan nonsense, and I say this with all due respect, there was never a reason to trust Jeff Sessions. and I stated this right at the height of all the message board, very, very dangerous, absurd nonsense. You don't go ahead, and there are no super secret spy agents writing poetry, calling people patriots from within the United States government, helping Trump through Sessions and Huber, which both were abominations. So I was right about that, 100% right. Now, I think that whole thing has been turned into, well, it's kind of like this notion that it kind of unites people, but I don't like the whole thing. I don't even agree with the whole where we go one, we go. That is nonsense to me also. What if I want to go when society opens up again, because it was just locked down recently, to the hair salon or to, Supercuts? I'm not going to go with you to the supermarket. I don't want to go with you anywhere. Actually, I don't even know you. You don't know me. You don't want to go where I'm going. I'm going to the gym afterwards. I might get a Big Mac afterwards, which makes no sense if I went to the gym. Why would I want to go where you're going? Why would I want to go where you're going if I don't know you? Why would you want to go where I'm going if you don't know me? Even if we're both Trump supporters. So it makes no sense. That's like the worst. But again, Jeff Sessions was an adversary of President Trump. Huber essentially did nothing. And you have to understand, without Sessions being almost set up and framed by McCabe and recusing himself. See, Sessions did not have to recuse himself. So this was payback for the special counsel. The whole reason that the real reason Trump despises Sessions is not just because he looks like the Keebler elf. It's because he presided over the Mueller probe, and he didn't have to do that. He did not have to do that. He was Attorney General. The reason he did is because he recused himself from the Russia probe. He didn't have to recuse himself at all either. He wanted to become Attorney General. At that point, they still had Al Franken before his misconduct forced him out. And they said, well, you spoke to Sergei Kislyak. Then Sessions basically said, well, no, I didn't. But then he said, I kind of did. And it was all nonsense anyway. He had every right to speak to Sergei Kislyak, as did Michael Flynn. There was no Russian interference. That's complete nonsense. But without Sessions, you don't have the Mueller probe because he recused himself. Then Rod Rosenstein gave Rod Rosenstein, the number 2 at the DOJ, all the power, and basically he could appoint a special counsel. He did, based on James Comey's memos, which, who cares what Comey wrote or thought about Trump in a meeting? There was no way to verify any of this nonsense. So you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where President Trump came into the presidency with basically 2 hands tied behind his back, and the Attorney General is one of the most important positions. So they got his national security advisor. They set up and framed Michael Flynn. Then you had Jeff Sessions helping them set up and frame President Trump. And without Sessions, you don't have the Mueller probe. And with William Barr, they tried to go after Michael Flynn under the Logan Act, which was nonsense. They couldn't get him under the Logan Act, and he wasn't He wasn't consulting any foreign countries while he was in government with President Trump. So he was there for only like a month or 2 months. Okay, then you have Sessions, who didn't have to recuse himself because they tried to get him on. They say, "Oh, we're going to get him on perjury charges." Well, he was or we were not going to let him become Attorney General. So the worst case scenario was that all he had to do, and he would have been Trump's best friend forever. All he had to do was simply say, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to recuse myself." And by the way, he could have simply also stated, "I'll recuse myself," and then when he got in, said, "No, I'm not recusing myself," because he didn't have to. The whole thing was a setup to begin with. He knew there was no. He was part of the campaign, and he knew there was no Russian interference. The whole thing was literally purchased by Clinton, who will be the nominee, and will have made the biggest political call of all time. So, he didn't have to. He could have simply said, "Nah, you know what? I'm not recusing myself. That's ridiculous." Then they would have been outraged. They were outraged every day. See, Democrats don't have anything on Trump, so they're always outraged. Trump didn't destroy a country like President Obama in a failed NATO intervention, where human beings are being bought and sold now. I love how New York Times writers don't look at that and say, "Gosh, we should never look at President Obama's presidency in a favorable light, because look what it amounted to. The destruction of a country." And in Libya right now, there are human beings being bought and sold. According to CNN, USA Today, there's even an article, thanks Hillary Clinton, in USA Today, blaming her for the carnage and the mayhem and the chaos for the past 10 years. But anyway, the whole thing, President Trump never liked Sessions because Sessions was never on his side, never on his team. And it's interesting, you have now, hopefully, Republicans will pick up another Senate seat, because it shouldn't be that difficult. But you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where William Barr, infinitely better. When the Mueller probe ended, he basically said there's nothing there, which there was nothing there. And then they said, "Oh my God, how could you say there was nothing there?" There were no indictments on anyone who conspired with Russia because that was made up. They got people on process crimes. Because they utilize the United States government as a political tool. What happens to the DNC is not national security. And we have no evidence, or we have no clue at all how many votes were altered by Russia bots on Twitter or Facebook ads. And we also don't know how many votes were altered by the DNC emails. We could pretty much assume not one vote was altered. And if the DNC emails show that Bernie Sanders was cheated, and therefore people didn't want to vote Democrat because Bernie Sanders was cheated, well, then Clinton didn't win fair and square the primary. See, their propaganda is like all over the place. They twist themselves into pretzels, trying to promote the latest scare tactic, and they truly believe that Russia still has it on Trump. They don't need reality. They've created their own reality in cyberspace. Every day is like an episode or scene from like Tron. Remember the 80s movie Tron? They're on social media, and that's all they care about. That's all. Without Twitter, there is no Democratic Party. Well, what do they stand for? How would they communicate? How would they communicate their dislike and contempt and vitriol for Trump if not for Twitter? See, I think that when President Trump wins, and he will win on November 3rd, and he'll defeat Clinton again, I think he should go ahead and just get off Twitter, and the platform would end right then and there, because you would just have liberals and the far left basically eating up the liberals alive, which is hilarious. Which would be hilarious. They're eating them up now. It's the French Revolution of ideas on the left. Every liberal is getting guillotined, like in a theoretical or literary or ideological sense. They're eating themselves up. They are eating themselves up. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. President Trump defeated Sessions. It wasn't Tommy Tuberville. It was Trump defeating Sessions, which is hilarious. All Sessions had to do was simply say, "I'm not recusing myself." But he recused himself, and that really... Without Jeff Sessions, you wouldn't have 2 years, two and a half years of a Mueller probe. You wouldn't. That was a wasted moment in U.S. history. President Trump could have had a normal start to his presidency. Instead, he had to be on the defensive. Give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Thanks, everybody. Be here for the live streams this evening. Thank you.